Hey everybody, wake up. This is A-Town and you're listening to the Rising Rush podcast. Alright, welcome to the Rising Rush podcast where we talk everything Dragon Ball Legends related, such as news, meta, hot takes, you name it. I am your host A-Town alongside our co-hosts Opsto, Desla, and Glow. And we're going to kick things off with the weekly reset as of September 11th of 2024. First things first, we've got the 3 Legends Limited guaranteed 50 times summon Moon Viewing Limited. That's currently live through the 19th. It's about 5k CC for 2 steps. If you want to go ahead and do that, we'll talk a little bit more to see if it's worth it or not. We've got the Autumn Raid that begins the 13th of September to go through the 27th of September, and the boss is featuring a yellow Bojack. So a little bit more we're going to talk about on that. Of the Zenkai Hero Tapion that is currently live in the game. Actually one of the better movie Zenkai benches. We'll break that down and see if he's actually usable or not. The Full Power Battle, that's live on the 11th of September through the 25th of September with more free-to-play Bojack Z-Power. We've got the Legends Battle Royale featuring Powerful Opponent and Regen. That'll be live as of the 13th through the 20th. We've got some new story content, which is Part 16, Book 3. That is live, so if you want to go ahead and check that out in-game, please do. And then we've also got the Choice Battle. That's going to be live through the 27th of September. So if you need new skip tickets or additional materials, definitely check that out. Also, Tournament of Power and the Zenkai Ultra Space Time Rush that has also reset. And then we've got a new Awakening equip, which looks like it's more tailored to powerful Saga from the movie and red units. So let's go ahead and talk about this actual banner itself. I've seen some comments online where people were saying, hey, they've got the fusing units on there. This is a must summon. Or, oh, don't go ahead and, spend your 5k chrono crystals. I mean, in total, that's 10k chrono crystals to do like both steps, which seems like a lot. Looking at the actual units itself, it looks like it's about all of the units in 2024 based on this list that I'm checking out here. We'll start off with you, Desla. Have you checked out that banner, and do you feel like it's something that people should summon on or should be a hard skip?
I'm not going to lead by, a role model here because I already did.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so the reason why I did personally, and obviously this does not go for the average player, which is free to play, I wanted to actually hop in to try and get Ultimate Gohan to 9 as soon as possible before he falls off boost, which I know will happen in a week, but the sooner I can get the 9, obviously the better. Ideally I can do it before Fest, but we'll see what happens. That was the main draw for me to hop in, just for the Z-Power. If that Z-Power was not there, hell fucking no. I am not touching that banner. The reason being for it is that, yes, it can look enticing to actually want to hop in on that banner, but you got to keep in mind, you got to look at the fine print here.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that's going to be a kicker that most people are not going to be paying attention to is when, more often than not, the reason why you want to be even remotely tempted to hop in on this is like for Vegeta or Gogeta. That's just a matter of fact. It's pretty damn simple. The issue being is they were scummy, and they made it to where obviously you can do 50 character multis on this. You only have a chance of Vegeta and Gogeta popping up on the 50th slot.
That's terrible.
One chance. That's it. Out of like how many LFs are on that banner? Like, I mean,
like a whole year's worth or more,
at least. Yeah. So good luck, I guess, is all I'll tell you. But no, the fact that they're not able to be pulled in any of those other 49 slots makes it to where, unless you're like me, where you obviously have a good amount of disposable income, thankfully, do not touch this. Because the reason why they're doing it is because it's pretty clear to me anyway that they are in fact going to go the route of dropping a pretty big time character to cap this campaign out here soon, and that'll be happening next week. Whether it's an LF or an Ultra will be yet to I actually see here. I guess I'm going to lean more towards the Ultra side of things because this is a pretty damn egregious bait banner. It's one of the more pretty in your face bait banners we've gotten in a minute to try and really entice people to like hop in. I mean, yeah, straight up. I mean, 800 LFZ power, Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
So but I don't know. I would definitely say that for the average player, don't come anywhere near this. But if you got some disposable income and you're in the boat where you're not really thinking this next unit's going to like buff up your main tag of interest, then by all means, go nuts.
Yeah, because it's like you get the freebies, which is the LFZ power, and then you get the guarantee, like, the soul boost materials to fully boost the units to the 999. Right. So, I mean, even on those, like 5K, if you look at the shop, it's what, $39, something like that, to like get, almost 3K crystals. You would have to buy that twice just to do well, you'll have a little bit more than that, but you'll be able to knock out one step, and then you got to buy some more to do the second step. That's like almost $100 for 2 chances to get the fusing units that potentially may fall off within the next release. Like, I don't know. I feel like it may not be worth it now for people who are just trying to max out their units or max out their tags for, let's say, fusions or God Key. If there are any God Key mains out there to try to get the fusing Gogeta, maybe there's a talking point there. But other than that, I just can't see it. But what about you, Opsto? You didn't summon for this, right? Like, you're like up to 80k CC, or if not more?
I am at over 82k CC right now, and if this upcoming release isn't like for Androids, which I hope it is, I really do. I don't expect it to be, but I hope it is. If it isn't, I will do the first summon on it just so I can get the 200 LFC power. But I do think this banner is only good for one type of player, and that's for players that are starting out, because what this banner can do for a new player is that it'll give them a lot of bench options that they would need, like a lot of Zenkai buffers that they're almost definitely missing. Mm-hmm. Also, it'll give them, like, again, 3 guaranteed LFs, and the last LF they're going to get is going to be a new one. Like, by new, I mean, like, a fairly recent one.
That makes sense.
So again, for very new players, this is actually a good value for them.
Yeah. And I've also noticed...
But if you've been playing the game for at least, like, a year or two, then don't waste your CC.
For sure. And just looking at the lineup itself, I mean, you got Goku Bardock, you've got the Evo Ken, which, bless their soul, I still think they're decent. They're one plat equip away from, like, being in the meta. You've got the transforming Beast Gohan in there. You've got the Pikkon to Gogeta. You've got the youth Goku from the Dragon Ball movie. There's some androids in here. The Gammas are in here. Shin is actually in there, which is very interesting, but Ultimate Gohan is not. I wonder why they did that.
They did up to part 1, essentially. They don't want to give. They're not giving, like, Ulton this early back to people.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, I mean, if they got the anniversary units on there, Ulhan's got to be there. But they're like, nope, it ain't happening, buddy. It ain't happening. But
it's a bait. It's bait, but it's good bait. If I agree with Desla, like, it depends on who you are. I'll say this: if you have over 20k CC and you don't expect your team to be buffed anytime soon, or you're guaranteed saving for Fest, you can summon on it. Other than that, don't summon.
Yeah, I concur with that as well. Like, even with the LF Z power that's there, the Limit Break banner gives more Z power than that. And you're able to just tailor and put that into whatever team or unit that you want instead of playing Russian roulette on the units that are available. Now, if you don't have any copies of the Vegeta or the Gogeta, possibly. But even then, like, I can't do it. I just can't. I mean, but outside of that, guys, just save for the listeners out there. Like, if you really want the LFZ power, you really want the Part 1 anniversary units, and you main the tags, sure, it's steep, 5k per step. But if you really, really want those units, sure. But I'd strongly recommend just save. It's going to be around for about 6 more days as of this recording, as of the 12th of September. But so we may be able to see something before the banner goes away, and then at that point you can make a decision if you really want to go in or not. And hopefully whoever that new unit is, it'll be some more Android support, so we can see that Super 13 in the mix doing some damage. All right, so moving on to the actual next topic, which is the biggest update that we got, is the Red Hero Tapion Zenkai.
So, woo! Oh my god! Yo! Tapion, man!
Been waiting for this guy, man. Crazy.
Oh my god, Tapion!
But for all jokes aside, I mean, I'm going to be honest. I haven't really looked too much into his kit because I haven't heard any talk about him doing anything. The only thing that I've really paid attention to is him being a good bench option for Red movies. Since
he's not.
What do you mean? He gives strike, attack, and defense. What other Red movies?
He's less than 30%. It's not good enough for today's meta.
Who's better than him?
I'd rather. He's so lucky.
You want double defense?
Listen. It's over 30%.
Double.
It's over 30%. It's
The
over
only thing you could
30%, bro.
possibly be good at, and Glow immediately comes in with the doomer take of he can't even do it. that just set me, bro.
Bro, I'm being so
That's what I
why
appreciate. That was hilarious, dude.
so dumb.
Oh my
Like
god.
he's 28%. It's whatever.
I mean, outside of that, he doesn't really have like he doesn't really hold anything to his own name. Like looking
You
at
like
his
Cavernola on main, and that's it.
I mean, I'll say this. He
yeah.
was one of my favorite units when he dropped. I ran this nigga religiously back then. I do fuck with this Tapion. He's one of my favorite units ever. I think he's like top 5 favorites for me. His biggest thing is his green card, really. The fact that it seals special moves, it seals blues, green, alt, and awaken for 10 counts. If you can consistently do that, you can have a point where like your opponent's blues, greens, and alts are probably sealed for like 30 counts straight.
Because they
That's
stack, don't
like
they? Does the timer count
he's
stack?
yeah, the timer counts stack. Like it resets essentially when he
Okay.
activates the green card. So essentially it resets. But like his support is solid. His disruption is solid. Damage, nothing crazy. And that's really the whole thing. It's like he's he's solid. He's a good like option if you don't have like Broly, but at the same time, like it is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, like crazy.
I mean, but I don't even think it's to the point to even run this guy because he has specific language in his kit to where he's able to buff the character Trunks if that's a battle member. What was the point of that? Is that giving like a calling that we may see a Trunks release next week?
I mean, possibly. Like that's what my theory is that if this Tapion serves as a hint for what's coming, then I think we're not getting an Ultra, but in fact we're getting an LF, and it's going to be the Super Saiyan trio from the Android 13 movie.
And how would they even make this unit work? Is it going to be more of like a tag unit or is it like an assist unit where Goku's like the main driver and there's different attacks where they kind of jump in, similar like Pan, or do you see something different?
They might rework the synchro gauge and essentially have it be a Vegeta and Trunks that are essentially a tag unit, and then
Mm-hmm.
once the gauge is filled, then it goes into a Goku that does the Spirit Bomb absorbed moves and all that.
Yeah. All right, I can see that. Well, that hopefully, I mean, it would fit a lot of tags, right? Because you'll have Vegeta Clan, you'll have Sun Family, you'll have movies, you'll have hybrids, you have Saiyans. So like he'll cover a lot, which could be more enticing for people to actually summon for it. And if good enough, I mean, maybe Vegeta Clan can actually make a team using this type of unit, or this could be coping, could be pure copium. We'll just have to see if that kind of where that lands. But outside of that, I mean, besides his green card, I mean, his blue card does massive, so that's good. Outside of that, I mean, there's no endurance nullification, so I was hoping for that, but unfortunately, that's not going to happen. There's healing. He does a lot of healing in his kit, right?
Yeah, actually he does. He heals on green cards. He doesn't heal on main, which is crazy. But he heals on green cards. He heals on swap out. He heals on when the enemy uses cards, yeah.
Yep,
When the enemy uses
3%.
cards 3. And yeah. So he heals a decent amount. So like a health restore quip will definitely help him in the long run.
Mm-hmm. Help him with some sustainability there. Maybe he can like outlast his opponent just by just doing damage and healing it all up. But I feel like there are other
Hmm.
red units that do healing better, like Corrupted Merge Zamasu. Like he heals a shit ton, and he does a shit ton amount of damage as well. And he has
Yeah.
an AOE green that locks you in Pop's main, and he gets uncancelable endurance nullification, and he can just rush whoever he wants. I don't see endurance null on this kit, so I don't see him replacing him on like PO. But then again, he's not even a PO unit. He is specifically
Nope.
for Saga from the movies only. So,
Yeah. The
yeah,
reason the yellow one has PO is because he has Harudagon.
yep. They should have Zenkai'd him. That would have been dope. But
Oh my god. If they Zenkai'd him, the ignorant shit I'd be pushing, bro. I'd be saying this nigga over Pan, Prime Tapion over Prime Pan every day. I would be saying the most dumbest shit, bro.
Man, that's what they should have done, and it could have been an option to go against UG4. We haven't seen a new yellow yet. What's going on with that?
And we could be a new yellow in the coming days, but hopefully that yellow is a cooler
Yeah,
if it's yellow.
or Super 13.
You bet you.
Oh man. Well, speaking of UOP, so what do you think about this Tapion? Do you think he has a place on movies since that's the only team he could really fit on, or
You
is
can hope
he?
him, but he's all right. You can use him if you want. He's all right. He's got ceiling utility. His blue card's okay. He's not. He's an okay bench. He's not a terrible one. He's okay. Like if you don't have any other options, you can use him as bench.
Mm-hmm.
But going back to his trunk stuff, I just think that that's just leaning more into what his kit was already doing. Yeah, we could be getting like the Super Saiyan trio from the Super 13 movie, and that could absolutely happen. But I kind of don't think so because we really need something anti-meta, and that's just going to be adding to the meta, like the current meta that we already have. Because the Super Saiyan trio is going to be ran with Gogeta and Ultan
Mm-hmm.
and Super Vegito. Like we need something really anti-meta, and the two characters that would fit that bill is either Cooler or 13.
So in short, we need a powerful opponent. That's what we
Yes,
need.
we really do. We need a anti-meta yellow unit.
Hey, I'm here for it. But then, is that going to replace Baby? I mean, I feel like that would, wouldn't it?
Baby's the only one that's holding them back. He's the only one.
Holding who back?
The purples. Even
Oh, yeah.
then, he's not doing a very good job because again, he's the only one. Like
Yeah.
we need something like incredibly anti-meta to fight off these monsters.
And the problem is that because the problem is that Baby is good against UG4 until UG4 gets his gauge because UG4 is anti-combo.
Exactly.
He's okay at walling Ulton, but like dealing damage back, Ulton's not a Saiyan. Garlic's not a Saiyan, and that's the problem. They're not Saiyans.
So,
Like again, like if we do get the Super Saiyan trio, which is indeed a candidate for what we might be getting for this upcoming week, they're just going to be added to the meta. They're not going to be anti-meta. They're going to be ran with the meta.
Yeah.
That's going to be incredibly unhealthy for the game as it is right now.
Now imagine they're anti-androids.
Why? like
I think we need it. Yeah. It was awesome.
no, like even besides my obvious bias for the team, like why?
Because it's the
Just
Super
goes.
Saiyan trio.
I mean,
Yeah.
but this is just reminding me of I think this was 3rd anniversary when Red Kid Goku got a Zenkai. We saw that on the reveals, and in the server that we were in, Glow, you just DM'd me, "Fuck you," because he was anti-androids.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Oh my god, I remember seeing that shit. I was just like, damn. Well, you're screwed.
Yeah, even though he
But-
did nothing.
Yeah, he did absolutely nothing, no impact to the game whatsoever.
But yeah, again, back to the Tapion after this long tangent. He's okay. That's all he really is. And again, with his trunk support,
mm-hmm.
I think it's more so just playing more into what his kid is already doing, because even previously he had trunk support, like dedicated support for trunks.
That is true. I just didn't figure for them to lean more into that on the Zenkai, since there's not really like a meta relevant Trunks running around. But I mean, we'll have to see what they decide to come up with, and maybe one day when we do get a new Trunks release, is this going to bring Tapion back on the menu as a support option? I mean, I don't know. Possibly. I'm not holding my breath. I only see him as certified bench for the new Super Saiyan Broly, since he does buff red movies, so it could lean towards more of like a red green glaze setup or something like that. But again, we'll have to see what people decide to build with. But what about you, Desla? What do you think of this hero Tapion? Is he worth using? Is he certified bench, or is he just a novelty?
I'm gonna keep it above with you. I skimmed his kit once. I haven't looked at showcases yet because, frankly, I don't care. Like, I don't know what to tell you. It's a matter of where, cool, I guess. I personally, I don't have a huge bias towards the character or anything in terms of thinking he's cool or not. Like, he's there. Looks cool, design-wise, I guess. But that's about it. Based off what I've been hearing, pretty unremarkable.
which is nothing because I haven't heard
Yeah.
nobody talking about this unit.
Yep. I mean, you'd think that it'd be the only thing we're talking about since it's the only, goddamn content we got this week, but, that goes to show you. But, no, I really don't think that, even the trunk support part of his kit really needs to be looked into that much because, I mean, like we've already been mentioning, that's already a part of his kit to begin with in the first place. So amplifying that part of it only makes sense because it's a Zenkai. So focusing on bumping up the strengths of the unit that already had the strengths like built to the kit in the first place just makes sense. But I do think that while it may be possible, I do think the best timeline for this is not going the route of the Super Saiyan trio from the 13 movie. And again, dream pick for me is cooler, 110%. I don't care if it's metal or if it's final. Actually, I do. I would prefer final, but whatever. I don't know, dude. Just him as an Ultra in his final form, man, that is chef's kiss material worthy intro material, no questions asked. And just him being yellow and actually being able to be consistent and he can have a slew of anti-tags because he fought the hybrids, he fought the Saiyans, he fought, Super Saiyans and shit. I mean, you name it, he was doing it. So he's got plenty of opportunities to be, anti the meta right now. So I'm just sincerely hoping that they don't drop the ball on him because I'll be honest with you, while I will not summon, that will definitely be a highlight release for me because I fuck a lot with Cooler personally. So that's where I'm at.
And do you think they could drop like a dual LF banner to kind of finish off this movie campaign? Or you think this movie campaign is not large enough to have dual banners?
Yo, shut the fuck up.
Hey, I'm just saying, bro. I mean, I know you're going to summon for both because,
Nigga,
you have to.
Over 500 for Annie. I already hate spending for this celebration. I'm not trying to spend more, dog.
But that's what you
what
get.
Kind of double, what kind of double banner are you talking about?
Double movie PO.
I approve of this agenda.
Yo, shut the
Everybody gets what they want. Like, Opsto gets his androids.
You want your team to be actually good, right? I mean, come on.
Yeah, man.
I hate you niggas.
You just can't summon for everything, bro. Like, I'm sorry.
I mean, you want to make
I'm
movies,
summoning
man.
only for movies.
Yeah, you're going to be doing a whole lot of summoning, man.
Yeah.
This is your campaign. Time to shine. Man, I sincerely hope that too for Fest Part 1 we get some movies ripped too because I mean the team needs more buffs. I think.
Yes.
Especially at this
I mean, Fest we already know what it is. It's tag Beast on Piccolo.
It could be. It's up there.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be tag 19 and 20.
Right.
More representation, man. I'm telling we need it. Possibly. We'll have to see.
Yeah.
But as for our final verdict with this Tapion, I mean, it's clear to see that this unit is not really doing anything to move the needle, such as team comps or any meta relevancy. The only play that I can see is Zenkai bench for the new Brawly, but even then that could be a stretch because it doesn't have 30%. It's only at 28%, but still could be a play potentially. I mean, we'll have to see what the other people decide to come up with. As for the new equip that kind of leans into the red, looks like there's a new Movies Awakening equip. Let's take a look at that. So pulling up this equip here, it's the Revived Hero Memory, and that's providing up to 12% to base strike attack and health restoration, an additional 20% to base strike attack, and then on the third slot you get up to 10% health and up to 10% special move. Now, as you being a movies main, Glow, do you see yourself rolling for this equipment, and who would you put it on?
I think the equip is good. It's a good base equip with strike attack and health restore. I think when it comes to who I would use it on, right now, I mean, it's good for Beast, even though Beast is extremely lackluster right now. It's good. It's definitely good for Broly. It's the type of equip he would need. And then other than that, I mean, we really don't have any red options. So
yeah,
it's definitely a good equip that's going to be like a good future investment. It's a good HP equip, 10% HP, special move, strike attack, health restore. Like it's all right because you're getting, even though the strike attack is only 32%, and there's some equips that give you more. It's the fact of having HP and health restore together is what's good.
Yeah.
Special move is iffy because we know that technically strike attack and blast attack scales better for your blue card damage than just special move. But it's a nice little addition on it too because you're getting it with strike attack. But I know like no, I've been noticing now from movies they've been giving us a lot of they've been giving us a lot of equips that aren't bad, but they're like very niche gold equips. Like we got this one which was red and movies. We got previously the blue Janimbo, the awakened unexpected assault. That
Mm-hmm.
one is regen in movies, and that's like strike defense, special move, health restore, strike attack. We got that Broly one. I'm not even gonna pronounce that shit. Something like Wauga or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That was like a 10% pure for characters that are if you have another movies, but it's for like Super Saiyan movies. So like they've been giving us stuff that like it's not bad, but at
It's
the current moment, there's nobody to really maximize the value.
yeah, like there's not that bread and butter unit that would warrant even trying to get these equips. Because I mean, looking at just movies equips overall, like they have a lot. They have a lot to kind
Yeah.
of go through, and then also there's a lot of like movie units, such as like the Ultra Golden Frieza, that has
hmm
his unique equip that can be put on other units that's giving like pure damage and base damage. Same thing goes with Gaku, even though everybody hates Gaku for some reason. He has similar equipments that is able to help benefit the team. Like it's why would you spend your resources just to get this and it's not giving you any pures? So it's I don't know. I mean the health is great, but I think the other ones are also giving health too. So I don't know if it's worth it. But outside of that, I mean, Desla, do you see yourself rolling for this equip? I mean, because you're a Sun Family man, would you put this on Beast Gohan, or is it not even worth it?
Beast Gohan needs to be on a very specific comp to even remotely perform right now. So I really don't have interest in running that at the moment. So with that in mind, no, I don't, because the only I can really see even like bothering to use it on is like the new LF Broly, but like he has better options, so it's
Mm-hmm.
not really like you need to go out of your way to like grind up or anything. So no matter which way you slice it, for the time being, it's just kind of there. So
Yeah, I agree. And then what about you, Obsto? Do you agree with what Desla was saying regarding on an equip placement, or do you feel like there's still some warrant to getting the 32% base and the 10% health?
If you grind for it now, it's more so of a future investment because it's more so of a strike equip, right?
Mm-hmm.
That yeah, you're not going to be using that on like Goku and Piccolo, who are very much blast oriented. So if you're hoping on a movie's red unit being strike based anytime soon, then you can grind for it. Fine, cool. But again, right now it's not needed.
Yeah. And then for the Brawly, if you would decide to even put this on them, I mean, there's plenty of competition. You have, the legendary Super Saiyan equip that's giving health, and it's also giving pure damage inflict, special move, strike and blast attack. You've also got, the other movies equips that's giving like pure defenses, and like Brawly has so many equips you could just put on him. It's not even funny. So like I don't see how this could. I mean, maybe you can make a play off of it, but I don't know. I feel like you just may have some better options out there. But if you don't have those options and you want to go for something that may be easier to roll, and I'll get y'all opinion, is Awaken equipment easier to roll than the actual like uniques?
I
awaken
mean,
equipment,
Yeah, Awaken equipment, yeah.
it's way more difficult.
Oh, even worse. So then, never mind. Then I guess, I'm gonna lean towards Opsto's suggestion. It could be a future investment. Maybe there could be a play for that, but only do it if you have the resources for it. That's my recommendation. Outside of
and
that,
wait till Bonanza.
oh, wait till Bonanza. Yes, good take. Which I mean, we may be due for one at the end of this celebration, anyways. Have they dropped one glow for this movie celebration yet? I don't think they have. Have they, or was it earlier in the celebration?
It was earlier on. Expect one next week.
Good, because we need one. I got some equips I need to get farmed up, so we'll have to see. All right, so that's all for the actual content that's in the game. So we're going to do a segue and move towards some additional hot takes and things that have been stirring up in the community. Firstly, Desla had a most toxic mechanics tier list that's got a lot of buzz. So I'm going to pass the bucket over to you, Desla, so we can talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so a little bit ago I made a tier list just because obviously we're in a pretty dead period for the current campaign that's running. So I figured I'd just kind of make it see what people think and all that. So, and as you mentioned, obviously got some decent traction. So there you go. But my list comprises of 10 mechanics that I ranked in numerical order, from 10 being least offensive to 1 being pretty much the equivalent of murdering your entire family before your very eyes. So there's that. So 10, I have blast armor. The only reason why I really opted to have this even included is because of the fact that I was considering the legacy of it in terms of how it used to work before it was nerfed, thankfully. And thankfully, due to the turnaround time, though, for that nerf happening, I can't really justify putting it higher than that spot because obviously it was a problem in year 1 and stopped being as much of a problem in that same year. So that's kind of where that's at. And also for this list, I have like every unit like next to the actual mechanic that introduced it in the first place. So I factored in how that mechanic performed with that unit who introduced it. So that unit who introduced it for blast armor was actually Podza, for instance, the blue one that came, I think, with Green Bardock.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but number 9, I have special cover change notification, which is everyone's favorite if you were playing back then, LF Vegito Blue. So back then, this was merely meant to counteract the purple Bojack at the time, who was, oh god, let's not open
I
up old wounds there.
unironically remember people jumping for joy when they read that was in his kit just because of purple Bojack.
I mean, if you were playing back then, you know how much of a problem that movie's comp was. Number 8, I have comeback. Number 7, I have RisingRush notification. If you're not privy to what that exactly entails, it's the mechanic that Goku and Frieza had from 5th anniversary. 6 is the counter arts card, so think more so like greens and blues that can counteract certain arts cards like strikes for blasts, or
Mm-hmm.
in the case of in instant transmission Goku here that I have listed, who introduced in the first place fucking everything. Pretty much the trade-off is that your vanish will be wiped after proccing, obviously, but I mean, back then it was still super annoying, so there's that. Number 5, I have the counter unique gauge, which was introduced by Ultra Gogeta Blue during Legends Fest. Number 4, I have cover change nullification, which is introduced by Ultra Instinct Goku. So there you go. 3, I have the RisingRush defeat nullification mechanic that was introduced by our good pal Super Vegito from this most recent anniversary. 2, I just have Ultra Instinct in general's ability that MUI introduced when he headlined 4th anniversary. And number 1, the absolute worst one, is locking, which was introduced by Green Bardock during year 1.
Press main ability, you can't move, you're stuck. Still remember those times, man.
0 counterplay. So
All right, so very interesting list. I can say, just taking a glance at it, my most toxic memories of all of these mechanics has to be the counter unique gauge. I mean, there were so many memes going around the internet. It's futile. It's futile. It's futile.
Yeah.
You might still run
Or
into a
the,
couple of those.
the American Eagle, screeching
Mhm.
or some shit when Gogeta procced his gauge. Yeah,
The shit was so funny, man. But yeah, he was causing some nightmares with that unique gauge.
it was Beast and Pan. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Outside of that, I mean, our nullification, that also, pissed a lot of people off. Comeback was toxic, but I think people learn how to play around it just a little bit more. Just switch into a unit that is able to heal all that health right back up, i.e. fusions. They just fuse and they're back to full health again. Blocking, they've been very careful of not having a lot of units being introduced with this mechanic. I remember the Fat Boo Hercule paralyzing meta where people just switch in and switch again and then proceed to just do damage with their damage based unit. Like it was very toxic back then. And then Ultra Instinct made Op still quit. So there's that too.
It really did.
Oh man, so we'll just go around the room and see what you guys agree. Do you guys agree with Desla's list? We'll start off with you, Opsto. What would you put number 1, or is there a mechanic that he's missing?
So I would pretty much change one thing on the list, and I would switch around 7 and 8, which is Rising Rush Null and Comeback, I would place Comeback as higher. And the reason being is that while with Goku and Frieza's buff, it did make it harder for the for you to get around the rush nullification. You can still get around it. You can still rush them if you know what you're doing. You can still absolutely rush them. You can catch them. But with Comeback, you have to go through it. You absolutely have to deal with it. You can't go around it. With Rising Rush nullification, you can go around it and you can rush that unit if you're playing your cards the right way. With Comeback, you can't. You have to go around it. There's no Comeback nullification yet. Hell, there's still only one unit that nullifies even Revive.
When's he gonna Zenkai, by the way, Gak? He needs it.
I mean, technically, there's more than one, but I digress.
But again, you have to go through Comeback. You have to deal with it. You don't have to deal with Rising Rush nullification if you play your cards right.
So then, should that be number one then, since it's a mechanic you can't really get around?
No, it shouldn't be number one because locking is for Hitler.
Or Super 17 in this list. I don't see him.
I mean, even he locks with his green card.
Yep, that is true.
But there are obviously even more toxic things on this list than Comeback, and for the most part, I agree with them.
And then what about you, Glow? Do you agree with the ranking on this list, or do you feel like there's a mechanic that needs to be added?
I mean, I feel like the lists are really subjective, and it comes down to what teams did you use, which of these mechanics did you abuse, and which of these mechanics did people abuse against you. I think that really just defines what it is. Like, me personally, my most hated isn't on here, which is paralysis. I hate paralysis.
Status ailments.
This list is a different kind of mechanic than that.
Like, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's certain things that we depending on what you define as a mechanic. Like, another thing is vanish removal. I definitely have vanish removal above some of these. I'd have card slot ceiling. I hate card slot ceiling. I hate strike ceiling too. I hate card ceiling, cards and card slot ceiling. I hate those because in conjunction together, they're very annoying.
Yeah.
And when it comes to certain mechanics, I mean, I don't know. Cover null, I don't think cover null is that bad. Comeback, it's one unit. Let's be for real. Rising Rush nullification, it's one unit. Let's be for real. Blast armor, it literally needed to get nerfed. That's how bad it was. Counter unique gauges, I agree. They were a problem.
Still a problem now. I mean, look at UG4.
Yeah, still a problem now. So, Rising anti-unguessable rush. We'll talk about that in a bit. Ultra Instinct, I think it's annoying. But I don't think it's the worst. I just think it's annoying. And locking, there's a reason. There's a reason we don't get 10. There's a reason they've just opted now for sub counts instead of raw locking 10 counts anymore. Because you can't really interact with a lock.
Yeah, once you're locked, that's it. You're pretty much stuck. So I can see that. But you did make a good point, like vanish removal. That is definitely one of my most hated because in combination with other things like increased sub count, they remove your vanish. Essentially, you're going to get hit with whatever they give you. Either going to be a Rising Rush or Ultimate or whatever the case may be. But there are some units that gain their vanish back on main, so there could be a play around that. But when it comes to locking, your SOL, it's just put your hands up and pray. You're going to get whatever it is that you're going to get, and you better play that one vanish you got very intelligent. If not, you're going to get scooped up. Haagen-Dazs.
Yep.
So, but I'd say, Desla, pretty good list. Definitely stirred the pot for sure. With a lot of the community members on there and those who have, commented and, participated in that good stuff there. But now we're going to do a segue to you, Glow, with your hot takes post, because it looks like you had a thread going on. Every 5 likes you would post a hot take, and some of the things you were putting out here were pretty outlandish. So I'm gonna pass the bucket over to you.
I stand by every single one of them. Like I said, y'all can peep on Twitter, 9glow6. So I'll put this tweet out. And I said, for this is the first time I really did this. I said, all right, every 5 likes, I'll post a hot take. I didn't expect to get as like this much traction. So there's no damn way I'm posting like how much would I need to do?
You gotta do a couple hundred. So yeah,
They want me to do like based on how many likes I got, I need to do like 720 hot takes, and I ain't doing all that. So I'm just gonna pick 5 hot takes that I think were probably the ones that got the most traction, and I'll give explanations for each one as we go through them. So, number one, LF Baby will outage LF Fusing Super Vegito.
mm,
Uh, I got jumped for this one, and I'm still standing 10 toes down. I think LF Baby will outage him, and the reason for it is because historically the devs have not like they have a certain stance when it comes to rush units. When a unit comes out and their biggest mechanic revolves around rush, they will give them their little leeway to be strong and push forward that unit. We saw that with tag droids. We saw that with Alefza, the final form. We saw that with Rose. We saw that with DKP. Am I missing any other? We saw that even with UGB and UVB. There was a time period where like their rushes were like immensely powerful, and like they got time to run the games with their strongest mechanic being their rush. Um, but after a certain point, the devs will like hard, and I mean hard counter those rush effects. Like
mm-hmm.
tag droids, they gave USG his best partner, and that just ripped them to shreds. Um, Alevza and Rose eventually just units just got bulkier and like better and like in colors that were just bad for them. So they got ended up done. UGB and UVB Janimba. Janimba just ended that nigga's career. UGB we saw with units like Android 17 when he first came out. It's like, all right, bet he's threatening and like holds off UGB from like doing his rush. And then by the time Annie came that year, we had like Kid Buu being able to stop him. We had UVB like not caring about his gauge, so it just weakened everything else on his kit. So eventually things will happen that will hurt fusing SV, and they will specifically target his ability to rush, which I think they're going to do. They're going to release more units that remove buff effects passively, whether they're on the field or on standby, that wipe attribute downgrades, because we've seen clips of like green units living in SV rush. Like it's like you can live in SV rush. It's not the end all be all. Whether you guess him or not, you can live the rush.
Gaku.
Assuming you're not. All right, no. Assuming you're not some BR12 Andy and you have a well built team, you have seen situations where SVs have lived rushes. Like one of the biggest examples is like Evil Boo. SV can't rush Evil Boo because he rushes Evil Boo buff wipes, he'll switch into another unit. SV is now immensely weaker, and even if you get guessed, then you might as well have just done like a single strike card with the amount of damage you'll do. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's things that exist. Now versus Baby, the reason I say I think Baby will age better is because the foundation that Baby has, I think will help him in the long run more. I think the foundation that Baby has will help him in the long run to survive longer than once SV gets his eventual, Rising Rush hit. Because that Baby has 2 optimal Zenkai benches with Forku and Yellow Broly. He is essentially anti-Saiyan support. Saiyans will always exist in the game. He is on 3 massive tags of PO, well, technically 4, PO, Regen, GT, and Saiyans. Like, those are 3 very good tags. 3 tags that are historically strike-based other than, like, PO, but even then, it's like PO's been mixed.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Baby has a lot more going for him, where he can always be like a second or a third slapped on his team. SV is not the type of unit where he's a second or third slapped on his team. He wants to be the main unit of his team. So when the devs eventually target like him and say, "All right, he's had his little fun. Let's introduce things that hurt his Rising Rush," like SV will lose his value.
But here's
And I
my thing
think as
though, because isn't Super Baby 2 star dependent? So, like, let's say if somebody goes in with a match, 7-star Super Baby 2, isn't he just going to get one combo in the current meta?
I'll be honest, every unit has been star dependent since the 14-star update. I hate that argument. Even Desla knows this. There's like we like since the 14-star update, every unit has been star dependent.
Pretty
We
much,
are
yeah.
like we're not in the old school meta where like you could get one copy and you'd be straight. No. Even when people say like, oh, a 5-star ultra isn't star dependent, shut up. Yes, it is. It's star dependent. You may not realize it because you're running the low stars, but compared to like even a high stars or a mid tier amount of stars, it is star dependent. Every unit is star dependent. Some maybe more than others, but every unit is star dependent.
So then that begs the question, like, what's the star number to have the units before you're like ready for ranked? Is it 2 red? Because I'm seeing that number go around from time to time.
Yeah, 2 red is like the universal standard for units. Because the second red star is where most of your stat boost comes from.
Yeah,
It's the biggest stat jump in the game.
I've noticed that as well. Um, but for this hot take though, like, I don't know if I don't know if people will agree. Like, the I win button is still very strong. Like, what is you guys' take on this? So do you agree with Super Baby 2 out aging the Super Vegito?
I think it's more of a 50-50, where, of course, the I win button is the sole reason why Vegito would outage him, and why wouldn't that outage? It's one of the most detrimental mechanics this game has ever seen. Guaranteed rush. Like, of course, that's going to be like very strong and unaging, but what will age him out is his damage and his defenses. Whereas Baby, his entire thing is doing a shit ton of burst damage. He has a lock on his ult if you have his gauge. His gauge is very powerful and it's very hard to get around it. And of course, he has that universal support against by far the most populated tag in the game, which is Saiyans.
That's true as
So
well.
he's going to age very well. Time will tell what we eventually see, but it's closer than we think because the I win button does absolutely exist.
That's true. If we get more units that can remove, get buff removal, just like Lo was saying earlier, or, we come out with more prevalent greens, then that could put the curtains on Super Vegito. It's crazy to say. And we're not that far from, the 6th anniversary. We literally just passed a couple months ago. I'd expect them to last a little longer than that in the current meta. I don't know. We'll see. And then as for you, Desla, do you agree with this hot take as well? With Super Baby 2 out aging Super Vegito?
I mean, I love both these units, so it's like picking between my children. So it's kind of where I'm at. But again, it's definitely a 50-50 split for me as well, to where it depends very much on what we get for Fest, I think, because I don't really think that, the next month and a half is going to really be super indicative of like how well he'll age, because I mean, I can guarantee you we're bound to get more of a higher chance of support for Vegito's tags than we are to have support for Babies in comparison. So I think that would be the true testament to see how well he can perform there.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously that'd be half a year later at that point. I think that's a pretty decent threshold to get a real good idea for a feel out in terms of how well they'll be able to perform in the coming year afterward, leading into, I guess, 7th anniversary pretty much. I do think that for like maybe a month and a half, depending on how hard they go with, going with the best timeline, which is an anti-meta PO unit, Vegito could be in a rut where he's, being gate kept by this cooler, which it wouldn't be the first time a cooler gate kept a Vegito. So I guess, we got to keep traditions running. But I do think that I wouldn't really, place this month and a half, like I said, on like how he'll perform going forward into Fest onward, which is more important to me anyway, because obviously that's big time. That's when we're getting like, big hype shit that's gonna be, really trying to like bring people in to go ahead and spend some more moolah, all that kind of stuff. So we're going to be getting some big name characters, I'm sure, which, again, higher chance they're buffing Vegito's tags and they're buffing babies. So we'll have to see what they go with in terms of how it all pans out, how it all plays together, all that kind of stuff. But for my money, I'm probably going to lean more towards Vegito, aging better.
Interesting. For me, like I like baby more, but the I win button is still too strong. If we get more units that seal Rising Rush for a substantial amount of time, then I can see, that Vegito falling off. Because once you take that I win button away, he turns into a good unit, but he's not like, oh my god, he's the best unit in the game because he's doing XYZ. It's the circulating conversation is he's one of the best units because of the I win button. So if you seal the I win button or he can't use the I win button, then what is he gonna do? Get eaten up. But we'll have to see. Glow, what's your next hot take?
All right, the next hot take I have is leaks to a certain degree are healthy for the DBL community, and the reason I say this is because it's no surprise to anybody. This is no mystery. This is no, oh my god, I didn't know this. The devs are not transparent with us. The devs are not honest with us. The devs are not, we don't see eye to eye with the devs for a lot of things. And the devs claim they listen to us, but they keep us in the dark. They do things that the community doesn't like, or by the time something that the community has been liking, they inch forward for something that's so small and like minuscule. It's like, why couldn't you just do this already? But I think one of the best times in this community was when we did know ahead of time what was coming, but it would be in ways of like, word of mouth. They're like, oh, the community heard it. Or if we saw in a V jump, like, oh, like 2 weeks from now or 2 months from now, we're getting a new unit, which is this. I think that helps build up the hype. That helps keep people like, hyped up during the dry spell. Because it's like, all right, during these dry times, we're not just waiting for like the next reveals. We have something that we know we can look forward to.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something that helps definitely in the community. It keeps people talking, it keeps people speculating. Whether like leaks come from other sources and it's word of mouth, whether it's from official like V jump scans, it's like the knowledge of just having a little bit of what we know. Like the leaks in this community have done more justice in communication for the devs than the devs themselves. Like we've gotten more transparency from leaks than the devs, and I think that's the bigger issue. So
Interesting.
yeah.
I feel like depending on the leak itself, like if it's leaking like featuring units versus the headliner unit, that could be healthy because it allows people to speculate what the themes can be surrounding a celebration. But if it's like, yo, the headline, like just like what was it, year 5 or whatever, where the red UI got leaked. Was it year 5 or year 4? One of the years where he got leaked early. I don't feel like that was good for the game because people already knew what the headliner unit was and they knew what to expect. But let's say if it was just like, one of the 1%, or a couple of the 1%, or a couple of events that were leaked, sure, that could build some speculation to that, can get people talking, but it also leaves the element of surprise of like, okay, so if we're getting this, then this could mean we may be getting these type of units, or who could be the main big headliner unit? Could it be a Gohan or a Goku or a Vegeta clan? Haha, whatever. It could be another unit, you know what I'm saying? That it allows people to speculate. But then when you leak the ultimate headliner, there is no speculation. It's now, do I main the headliner tag? Is it worth summoning for this headliner? Yes or no? And then the conversations end after that. And then also the timing for the leaks as well. Like if you're leaking 3 days before the actual anniversary or event, then yeah, you'll have that build up. But let's say that information was leaked a month ahead of time. That the hype is not going to be the same because the element of surprise has completely been eliminated.
Yeah, it's not like every time it should leak, but like every once in a while, I think is good.
Yeah. Well, what do you think, Opster? Do you think leaks are healthy for the game? If so, why or why not?
They absolutely can be, yeah.
And do you think it depends on like the type of leaks that get leaked, or like, let's say if it's the headliner that got leaked or different parts of the event that got leaked, do you think that matters at all or no?
Um, in some ways, yeah, it does because of if you're a player like me who just mains a single tag and you learn like what's coming isn't for that tag or is for your tag, that'll inform you on what to summon on. Like
Yeah.
again, like if we knew that Gogeta and Vegeta were coming for first anniversary, then I would know. Oh yeah, I can summon for like an android that came out beforehand, even though we didn't get one that came out beforehand. I'm just speaking hypotheticals.
Mm-hmm.
But again, they could definitely help the average player. For in terms of like gigantic reveals, like it would have been a little like it would have been a little sad if the original tag of Blue Boys were leaked, because that reveal I think is by far the best reveal we've ever had, like bar none. And having that leaked would have been tragic.
For sure. And then what about you, Desla? Do you believe that leaks are healthy for the game? Why or why not?
So for me, I feel like leaks do more harm than good. That's kind of where I sit with it. And the big issue is that they more often than not happen nowadays before big ship,
Mm-hmm.
which is what generates more attention. That's just the situation pretty much. And when we start having stuff like that happen, that leads to a lot of big time release slots being completely just swilled out the gate to where like I'm not gonna check out the actual reveal because why would I bother, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a situation of where kind of unrelated, but it happened this morning, earlier today, where we had the trailer for Sparking Zero, where Nano
Ooh,
wanted to go ahead and
nanogenics. Yep.
leak the trailer that he reacted to like 2 hours before it came out, to where everyone just knew for sure it was happening. Which, to be fair, we were seeing people like go into the actual video itself and like look at the actual tags the video
Mm-hmm.
had tied to it, which you could put two together for that pretty much because it was pretty on the nose. But again, doing that is just, for him, Jesus, it's literally putting his neck on the line pretty much for actually having any kind of, individual like flyouts to see shit earlier in advance, whatever. So, rip him, I guess. But
Yeah.
no, I do think that stuff like that I don't fuck with personally, and that's more often than not what the leaks are that happen that I see. Um, in the off chance that they pop up for stuff nowadays, because the only time that really it would be like a thing that you check out even remotely often would be like when we used to have V jumps actually give info that was actually new and not just reviewing stuff that we already know, because of course they've picked up on the fact that people already are seeing these leaks ahead of time, so now they've changed what's in them to where it's basically just an advertisement for what's in the game right now. So
Mm-hmm.
that's how it is. But no, I do stand with the stance that I do believe them to be, in terms of how they are currently with how things work with the way we're informed about stuff for the game, that I'm not a fan of them.
Yeah. And speaking of like the leakers either leaking it accidentally or on purpose, I mean, if they sign NDAs, which is like a non disclosure agreement, there could be some
That's a
crazy,
lawsuit, yeah.
yeah, there's some implications that can happen there that could either cause, damage to the relationship or partnership that they had, and or lead up to fines and or being sued. So you got to be very careful on that type of stuff if anyone ever gets opportunities like that, so you don't end up damaging any kind of future partnerships with those corporations or those entities. That's just more of like the corporate side of things. In short, that could be your ass. So just don't get caught or don't do it at all. That's straight up. So I think we got time for one more, Glow. What's your most craziest hot take that you got on here? Because you got plenty.
All right, so the big one, which ended up causing a few fights on a few servers, was Blue Namek Goku, the OG one, was never a bigger issue to the game than Purple DBS Broly. And let me pull up my notes on this
Pulling out the
because
handy dandy notebook.
There is a whole argument, and I essentially wrote like paragraphs, the whole argument. So let me pull it up. So I even said this. I think Blue Beast is closer to Broly than Nameku is to Broly for what they did as a meta reset. And the reason I say this was, let me pull up. My thing was Namek Goku when he dropped. His biggest issue was a counter blue card, and it pushed the issue of backfloating, which had already existed in the game and people had already been complaining about. It pushed it to the forefront and forced the devs to be like, all right, we're gonna have to adjust backfloating because now we have a unit that makes backfloating a little bit too much of a problem. Mind you, we had always complained about it. Broly, on the other hand, dropped during a time where you have to remember kits were not that complex as we were accustomed to. For reference, the newest units to Broly's release were the Black Friday units of Goku Black, Majin Vegeta, SS3 Goku, and then before them was Blue Deborah and Blue 18. Broly introduced type neutrality, transformations, and stats that were absurd for the time. That the next unit that was even anywhere near as powerful as Broly was Blue Cooler, Final Form. And the big thing of these 3 points is that all 3 of these were things that the devs saw in Broly and have tried to never, ever replicate and avoid since then. You could argue that, okay, Broly changed the game. Nameku changed the game mechanic of backfloating. Broly did the same thing because, for those who don't know, at the time, Blast Armor, if it triggered, not only was it a massive damage reduction, 2, you also got your Vanish back if it triggered. So having those kinds of situations meant that essentially, if you had no Vanish and you had Broly and your opponent blasted, you got your Vanish back, which was genuinely insane at the time. And going back to the 3 things that the devs have avoided with units since Broly, number 1, type neutrality. Type neutrality since then has been heavily reserved for only the best units, and even then for those best units, it's in select scenarios. Transforming units. No transforming unit has an ultimate other than Broly. They have avoided that, and they've made sure to make units that have transformations weaker in their pre-transformation form by a good margin. Number 3 is also that the stats that we have for transforming units are now regulated much more than they were during Broly's time. And you could argue that, yes, Broly also did have the ability of Bardock crits at the time because of Holy Trinity.
Mm-hmm.
But part of the thing is that Broly didn't need Holy Trinity to do all that. He was still a problem unit. It's just Holy Trinity made the whole team essentially, now there's really no answer. You have to have another Broly. Because you have to remember, back then, early in the game, releases were hit and miss. And after they dropped Broly, they tried to drop answers to him. Like Chilled was for against Bardock. Chilled was slightly before Broly, but I was trying to drop an answer to Bardock. They tried to drop Yellow Bojack and answer to Broly. That failed. Nameku, when he dropped, Golden Frieza existed. Green Buhan existed. And over time, after Broly, units like S Green LF SS Blue Vegeta dropped. Units came after Nameku, and even units that were before Nameku that would at least give you answers and options to deal with him. With Broly, the only hope you had was another Broly. There's a reason why. I know 5'9" mentioned on their one of their episodes one time that Purple Broly to this game was what STR Gogeta, the OG one, was to Dokkan. More people re-rolled entire accounts they had since day 1 for Purple Broly. That's how much of an impact he had. And the other thing was that Nameku, you could argue, yes, his blue card and it's a good player. Nameku's thing was sometimes just had to eat the blue card. Nameku's issue was human error. It's the same reason why Janemba was so rampant. Ultra Janemba was so rampant and people had so many problems with him. You constantly avoided biting the bullet. Sometimes you just have to bite the bullet to get it over with. They may have a blue card, yeah, You eat the blue card, now what do they got? Come on now, like just play better after that point. Versus Broly, it's like functionally the game, the stats and the damage and the mechanic of blast armor is not in your favor, then no matter how good you play, you're gonna get hold. So yeah,
Now, this
it's,
is what
it's
I will
essentially
say.
relative. Yeah,
Oh,
so essentially, it's what I'm saying at the end of the day is relative to the times they were released. Broly was way more of a problem of the game than Nameku. The only thing Nameku ever really impacted was counter blues, which even then were niche at the time, and backfloating. Broly has impacted numerous more things in this game and was more of an impact to his era than Nameku was to his.
well, I'm gonna pass the bucket over to Desla first, because Desla, I know you're a Sun Family main, and I've had my fill with this angry Goku or Namek Goku or whichever name that people went by him as back in the day. But I remember this guy single-handedly 1v3 in multiple teams, and I know previously with the Holy Trinity, like it took the Holy Trinity to make the Holy Trinity the Holy Trinity. Like the team was crazy, but Nameku or Angry Goku, that motherfucker was making people rage quit. But I'm gonna let you give your take on that, Desla.
So this kind of like harkens back to what we were talking about earlier with what pisses us off more in terms of the hierarchy of annoyance. And for me, that boils down to passive play. So you mentioned before, obviously, how Holy Trinity is just like this absolute unit of a team to where it will just, crit you to death and you'll be, dead in seconds, all that kind of shit. The difference being for that is that you compare that to Namek Goku in his prime prior to the nerf, where the Holy Trinity, you're being killed in like 30 counts. Like if you're not running it back like at them, pretty much, it's gonna be a quick match and it's fucking over because they're doing so much damage. And I'm being generous with 30 counts probably. With Namek Goku, with most high-ranking players who picked up on how his blue card worked, I mean, you would have matches drag the fuck on. I mean, my God. So, because there was no punishment for playing that way. There wasn't. You have the prehistoric I win button with his blue card. And, as you mentioned earlier, he had prime time 1v3 potential. At the time, he was stupid as a last man. He was very good at it. So, it's a matter of where individually, I would say that if we're going to compare pre-nerf impact, that Broly's problems were really only amplified to the degree that most people remember them being when he had that comp to make him that much of an issue. Obviously, you can, go back and forth on, kit by kit, which one's more annoying and all that kind of shit. But again, for me, what I prioritize that gets my blood boiling, it is definitely anything that encourages passive play and drags a match on longer than it should have to be. That for me is a higher priority on the totem pole for what just I cannot stand. And again, mind you, I had the character. I had not play like that because I'm not a bitch. So there's that. But it's a matter of where, people I encountered during the time that he was, in his prime time pre-nerf did. And it was excruciating. Again, we can go back and forth on, prime time, kit by kit, who was better. But for me, in terms of my preference for what I cannot stand, it is anything that encourages passive play. And, I mean, you really can't look much further than prime time Namek Goku pre-nerf for encouraging passive play.
He was the ultimate passive unit, I should say. What about you, Op? So do you agree with Glow's hot take with Holy Trinity or the purple DBZ Broly and FSK Zenkai being the bigger problem than Namek Goku, or what?
I think purple Broly was a bigger problem.
Dang.
And while most people did run him on the Holy Trinity, you didn't have to. You really didn't. He was so good that you could run him also on regen, which is also brain dead in year one of the game. That would drag matches like 2-timer, which would yield a draw back then. But then you would just have Broly without almost any Z abilities, and he'd still be fantastic because of his overinflated stats. You could run him with Zamasu and Fat Boo, and you'd be fine. I ran into that multiple times in year one. So not only do you have two units that are absolutely unkillable with the Red Zamasu and Fat Boo, you have by far the hardest hitting unit in the game, like on your team, backing you up, and nothing could kill you. So again, you can run him literally wherever you want because he didn't care.
And this is before the actual like leader slot.
Yes, exactly. He wasn't getting any Z abilities because again, you could just run him perfectly fine and inflate his stats with his transformation, which again, his stats were crazy.
Still one of the crazier stats we have in this game. I mean, even to now, it's just his kit overall is not it.
While Nameku, if you compare both units, Nameku and Purple Broly, Nameku was far less powerful in his base form, like relative to release, than Broly was in his base form relative to release. Whereas with Purple Broly, his transform state and his normal state were relatively the same in terms of performance, except transformed he had way better stats. Goku, he didn't have his I win button. So what I ended up doing back then, because androids wasn't much of a team, you could run them, but back then like power creep was very rampant, so it was very hard to run them. So I secondary mained LOE, and they absolutely crushed Nameku. If you could kill Nameku before you can get the transformation off, yeah, the game's over.
Interesting.
Whereas if you were trying to do the same thing against Purple Broly, when Purple Broly came out, you're gonna fail because Purple Broly is going to kill you. He doesn't care.
Just based off of the pure raw stats. So
exactly.
So I guess you got the room divided there, Glow. I mean, we've got some pretty interesting takes on this one. We got half believing that Nameku is the GOAT, and then we got the other half that, you know, that movie Broly was putting in that work. Oh, and then FSK, I'm not even going to talk about him. We already know what he was doing. So
I'm telling you. I mean, that's what I'm saying. A hot take is not meant to be agreeable. It's supposed to start a discussion. That's why I hate when some people be like hot takes and they're like, "Nah, this take is shit. It's really this." It's like, no, you don't have like some people want an echo chamber. If you don't agree with a hot take, that's good. That's the whole point of it. It's not meant to be whether you agree with it or not. Necessarily, it's whether it's bad. It's the fact that you have to question whether you agree with it is the whole point of it.
Agreed. Like the point of it is to circulate the conversation, begin the conversations, and then get an understanding of why people believe the things that they believe versus saying your idea is dumb, you're wrong, or whatever the case may be. It's good to have a neutral understanding because you might learn something. And this goes to the listeners as well. Like if somebody gives a crazy hot take, don't call them names. Ask them why. And then once you hear the reason, then you can proceed to comment after that. But don't just straight up shoot it down. Like, you know, Gaku. Evaluate the kit objectively before saying he's trash. Because you might be surprised. You might learn something. Just saying. So I think that concludes our current topics of discussion for this episode. So moving on to the Dragon Ball related news. As a lot of you already know, we've got some new Dragon Ball Sparking trailers that have just came out today. And that is, you know, putting an emphasis on the GT saga. We saw some clips of Super Baby going into Super Baby 1 and Super Baby 2, so the transformations look dope. Hopefully Legends can add some Super Baby 1 representation on here. That would be really cool. We saw Pan, we saw Kid Goku and the transformations up to Super Saiyan 3. We've also saw Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta and Super Saiyan 4 Goku and Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. So the trailer was dope. I mean, you guys got to be hyped for this. If you didn't know that they were going to drop GT units in Dragon Ball Sparking, guess again, you should be asking yourself, who are they not going to put in this game? That's the real question. But there's also a leak as well. Like it was leaked a couple of hours before the official page aired it. So I'm not going to put too much emphasis on that. If you want to search that up on Twitter, please do, and you'll be able to find out what the full story is all about and then see if there will be any repercussions based off the leak. But that kind of ends it from there. And also we've got, you know, the Daima trailers as well. We're getting really close to October, so expect to hear and see more Dragon Ball related news. I believe the V-Jump scans also came out, and it was also featuring a bunch of the Dragon Ball stuff as well, such as Sparking, Daima, etc. So keep a lookout on that. And then also as a fun fact, we've we've also got Stephanie that's going to be voicing the kid Goku from GT. She was also originally voicing Goku in the 90s Dragon Ball dub, and also Gohan in the 90s Dragon Ball dub, which to this day, that was the best Gohan dub voice. This new one's voiced by Colleen. Like, y'all kids can have it. It ain't it. I'm sorry. Like, it ain't it. But anyways, that kicks things off, and that ends everything for this week on the Rising Rush podcast. Please follow us on Twitter. The Twitter handles will be in the description below. Myself, Obsto, Desla, and Glow, they'll be on there. Also, as a reminder, Glow does stream from time to time as well, so turn those notifications on and jump on the stream and say hi whenever you get a chance. We've also got a Discord as well, so if you want to join on there and chit chat about hot takes, Legends news, or just anything random, we've always got conversations going on. But until then, I hope you guys have an awesome rest of your week.
See ya.
See you.